Alright, so I just got done watching Rebel Moon. This is the new Netflix film from Zack Snyder. This is the new film series that he's doing, and with part 1, A Child of Fire, that is now officially released. And now this is especially with this film, which I casually did not love by any means, but even with the entire story and its premise, and with the way that Zack Snyder wanted to adapt this whole thing, kind of like his own Star Wars, Game of Thrones, all rolled into one as well. I gotta say, this was not what I was expecting, but it's something else. And so this will be my full official review of, obviously no spoilers, and just going over what it was adapted, and even giving my impressions and thoughts for what could be in store for the next film, especially for what I'm about to talk about here as well. And so if you're new, then be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future vids. And so let's just get into it. And now, going in this film, especially from my own perspective, and even for what Zack Snyder wanted to adapt in this movie with his own vision, and even with this film that is being turned into a film series, and even with a Rebel Moon, and with it being part 1, A Child of Fire, and I feel like with the movie, I did not love, but I did like it in some parts. But even with the entire movie, I just did not like it. But even with the opening scene, I laid the foundation for the movie, and even with the ending, I totally sets up everything for part 2. But even with the entire movie, with part 1, which I kind of did not like, but with the whole premise of this film is with a colony that gets invaded by an army. And even with this woman who is the main lead that has a mysterious past, but even with the entire movie and a story which I had no clue what it was about, but it feels like these random sci-fi elements all rolled into one, and that's what made it not so interesting. And even with the characters that I didn't really seem to be that invested in, but even with the main lead, Sofia Boutella as Cora, and I like her character. I like what they explored in it with her past and everything like that. But even with the characters that I didn't really seem to care about, but even that with the entire movie, which I had no idea what it was about, especially from the marketing and from the trailers, it just some random elements thrown into one. I mean, I applaud Zack Snyder, especially for his filmmaking, but even with this film series and with the character development and how they want to lay the foundation, especially for parts 1 and 2, I feel like with part 1, that I didn't seem to be that invested in, and even with the characters and how they will all come together, and even with the final minutes of the movie with the third act, at which it is really good with the action scenes, but overall with the entire story and the character chemistry between each other, at which it was alright. Even with some things that I do want to take away from this, I liked all the different things that are combined within this film, and I just like the atmosphere of what it's trying to bring, and plus I love the sound design and the visual effects are on point, and I found it to be really good, but at the same time, in some parts it's just terrible, and even it's constantly slow, trying to keep up with everything. It's I don't know if it's all over the place, if it's just me, but even with the way that Zack Snyder wanted to do this, it's outright not good, and even with the rest of the movie, which I kind of found me interesting, and the parts that I love, like I said, it is the opening 20 minutes, but and even with the third act, and I definitely lays the groundwork and everything like that, but with the story in general, which I found to be not so invested in. And even as we look at it right now, that this is a divisive movie, and which I don't necessarily agree on, but I get that I mean this movie is not as bad as I thought it would be. It's just random stuff combined into one movie and telling the story about this certain event and that happened in this film. But even I think it's going to get better for part 2. With part 1, that's a building phase of what Zack Snyder was trying to do, but I think part 2 will get better from here on out. But I definitely did not love part 1, but I did like some parts in between, and just with the entire storyline, and which it's just all random stuff combined. Even for my final point is that I hope that everything turns out extremely well in part two, and I have some bit of like an understanding, and I get that everyone is not going to like part one or like love it completely, and this is for like Zack Snyder's vision and how the way that he makes his movies, and with the way and that like he made his stuff over at Warner Bros. And DC, and now going over to Netflix and just making this film series. Like I enjoyed parts of it, but I just like did not like the entire thing in general. But I did like the characters like a little bit, but I just found them like not so investive with. But like the chemistry is good, especially with the main role. But I hope part two gets better. And so for my final thoughts, that I liked Rebel Moon. I liked the concept, the idea of it, and even what Zack Snyder adapted, especially with this being a film series and with this being a part one of the part two series. Like I just didn't love it. I enjoyed it for some of the parts, but I just didn't like the entire movie in general. I enjoyed the action parts and everything about it. But I'm excited for part two of what's in store for that. But even with part one, and I just found it to be alright. And it was just good in my opinion. So those are my thoughts. And so that's going to be it for this video. And just let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. And what were your thoughts on Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire? And what are your expectations for Part 2? And just let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn on that notification bell for future videos. And also happy holidays to all of you. Hope you're all staying safe out there. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.